Hey guys, what's going on? So obviously this is not my usual podcast setup over Zoom. I actually have my special guest with me in person today. This is going to be a very, very fun episode, guys. So this special guest next to me needs no introduction, really, I don't think. She is such an amazing human being. But yeah, she is a Disney super fan, as you can see. She is everybody's favorite Hufflepuff and the craziest cat lady you'll ever meet. The beautiful and talented, my girlfriend, Lauren Sweet. Lauren?
Hey guys!
How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I am so ready for this. So ready.
Me too. Me too. I'm super, super excited for this episode. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people who might not know you.
Okay, that sounds good. So hey everyone, I'm the girl who is so lucky to be dating this doofus over here. My name is Lauren Sweet. I am a Broadway baby, a cat mommy, a Hufflepuff, and the biggest bunhead you will ever meet. Woo-ah!
Yeah, so she is a huge Kim Petras fan, obviously, for those of you that are aware. But this episode, as evidenced from the very adorable mini ears on her head, we're going to be ranking our top 10 Disney animated movies.
The conditions that we came up with this was that it was not going to be any Pixar, live action, or Frozen. So if you guys were hoping that was going to be on our list, come on, just let it go for now.
Well, that's it. That's it. I'm done.
Oh, stop!
God, I don't even know if I want to put that in or not.
No, you do. You do.
Yeah, screw it. I'm putting it in. But yeah, so this is our top 10 Disney animated films. Spoiler alert to all the Frozen fans. I'm sorry, neither of them are going to be on this list. I was thinking about putting the first movie on this list, in all honesty, when I was making it, but in all honesty, I don't want to say it's overrated necessarily, but it's more so like, it's good music, good performances, but
Also giving credit to like lesser known films as well, or the ones that don't receive as much love as Frozen has.
yeah.
The ones that haven't exactly had the Broadway treatment.
Right, yeah, Frozen's an interesting one, for sure, but, unfortunately, you're not going to see it on this list, but we've got 10 of what we think are the very best Disney has had to offer. So, like she said, there's going to be no Pixar on here. That might come at a later time. Yeah, I guess you guys know how countdowns work. Yeah, so what's going to happen basically is, since Lauren is the guest, she's going to go first, and we're just going to kind of go back and forth, talk for a little bit about each of our choices, why they're at that spot. We know what each other's number one is.
Exactly.
We cannot wait to reveal those to you guys, but yeah, no, I'm super excited.
Me too.
Before we get started, how difficult was this list for you to make?
It was a little hard. Some of the movies I had to kind of like switch areas for certain things because more and more ended up becoming bigger ranked as I kept watching more Disney Plus. Some of the ones I loved as a kid, I don't like now because times have changed.
Chicken Little. But yeah, so basically we're just gonna kind of go back and forth, and thank you guys as always for stopping by. I hope you guys enjoy your stay. If you're new here, just make sure to hit that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can, and make sure to leave a thumbs up on the video by the end. I really appreciate it. But with that being said, let's get started.
Here we go!
Number 10. All right, what do you got for number 10?
So for number 10 on my list over here, I have Fantasia 2000.
Wow. 2000, really?
Yeah, I really love that one because my mom growing up, she's always loved piano and classical music, and being born in a music-loving family, this was always a huge highlight for me as a kid, especially since the first time I saw it was right before I went to Disney World for the first time, so it has a lot of that for me. And also, I think it's an amazing way for kids to learn about classical music and get introduced to it through animation and things like that. They included more contemporary composers in this one. They included Stravinsky's Firebird, which is a beautiful piece. And also, everybody knows Beethoven's Fifth. It really introduced Beethoven's Fifth in a really fun way, which I think is really, really awesome. And I know it might be cheating a little bit because it's not fully animated. They have a bunch of cameos by Bette Midler, Steve Martin,
Yeah.
a bunch of others. And and it's really, really cool because they included animating the Steadfast Tin Soldier for that one, which out of all the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales, that one didn't receive as big as of a Disney treatment as it did Little Mermaid, Frozen. And also, it's like a lot of the animation was really beautiful. Of course, Firebird was my absolute favorite. And also, they went back to including Sorcerer's Apprentice, which a lot of kids in that generation didn't see a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool.
That's an interesting choice. I was not expecting that one to pop up, like,
I know.
at all, really. I mean, I would have, like, the first Fantasia, like, maybe. Like, I didn't put either one of them on my list, personally, but, I mean, yeah, no, that's a really cool.
Yeah, there's also even more that I love about Fantasia 2000. Penn and Teller, the introduction that they have before Sorcerer's Apprentice, oh my gosh, it's stuck with me for God knows how long.
Oh, it's super neat.
So long, and it's just really, really fun. And then also how I was also introduced to Pomp and Circumstance through this movie with the story with Donald Duck and Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, and also it's funny how you can think of a graduation march being the perfect soundtrack to a biblical story with a duck.
Yeah. With a duck.
With a duck.
With a duck. My voice cracked right there, but, you know, that's...
My only down for Fantasia 2000 was that it constantly felt like it was trying to live up to the original one and everything. But I still feel like it did an amazing job. And also, if there are anyone from Disney, if you work for Disney and are watching this, please listen to this pitch. Like, I want you to do a third Fantasia, and one of the segments I would absolutely love to see is Gustav Holst's The Planets to animation. That would be really cool. Uranus, for example. Every time I listen to that, I just imagine a wizard bringing a gargoyle to life. That would be the perfect soundtrack for that. So if anyone's working for Disney and is watching this, please do this. It's about time.
Please.
And also, with this whole, like, 2020 business going on, it's a film that could be easily pulled off.
Hindsight is 20/20, of course. But... All right. So my number 10, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So, yeah, you probably were not expecting that one.
No, not at all.
Not a lot of people were expecting Snow White, but in all... Yeah, well, in all honesty, like, this is probably something she doesn't even know about me, but Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is actually one of my most watched Disney films when I was a kid. I loved that movie. It was so fun. And, like, I can understand why people would not put it on their top 10 because, it's a movie that doesn't really have a lot of character. But that was the thing. Snow White came out in 1937. It was the first of their animated films. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, and honestly, without Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs existing, like, who knows where any of these movies would have been. And, like, how good Snow White was in 1937. Like, I mean, granted, in 2020, there's definitely some issues with it. The prince is not very interesting at all. He barely shows up. Like, and
then also, like, the age difference between them, because in Snow White is 14, so...
Yeah, they aged her a little bit for the movie, though, from what I've gathered. She looks at least 18, at least, you know.
I would say 16.
At least, like, she can make her, like, own decent decisions, I guess, even though she's kind of... I don't know. I'm kind of digressing here. But the reason why I love Snow White so much... It's actually the dwarves. They were a ton of fun as a kid. You know, Hi Ho, I would, like, sing that song so much, like, walking around the house as a kid, like, you know, and I just love, like, all their, like, they all have their own distinct personalities also. Yeah, the clue is in the name of each one, right?
Well, yeah, it's like, they were definitely the most interesting characters in the movie from what I remember as a kid. And then also, it's like, it's not Snow White without those dwarves.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Exactly, yeah. Snow White moves into a house with 7 little dudes. I don't know. Something weird could have happened there. But he also
Are you sure you're gonna include that on camera?
Maybe I'll think about it. But anyway, yeah, you also have the evil queen. A lot of people don't really see her as like this dastardly villain, and yeah, when compared to like, I don't know, like a Maleficent or a Lady Tremaine, even she's not as interesting of a villain. Like, you know, she is. She's like, you know, the 1937 Gossip Girl almost. She wants to get at Snow White because the mirror doesn't think the queen is as hot as Snow White is, you know? Like,
yeah, she's basically just really, really jealous. And
yeah, but
like, I mean, like, envy can't be the only, like, motivation for a villain.
Yeah.
And everything. So.
Yeah, the key is definitely simplicity sometimes, though. And I think Snow White definitely got that one. The reason why it's on my list is because of the emotional impact I think it had in 1937, and like the fact that without this movie, none of these would exist.
That is very, very true. It really just led Disney's career, and that's why I'm wearing these today.
There you go. Absolutely, yeah. So, two very surprising number 10s.
Yeah, I was not expecting that from you, to be honest.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go.
I actually wasn't expecting a princess movie from you, to be honest.
Oh, well, get ready, because it's not the last one. So, moving on, number 9. All right, what you got?
All right, so my number 9 for me is the original Fantasia.
There it is. There it is. We were just talking about that.
And I think the original Fantasia is a lot more interesting than Fantasia 2000. Fantasia 2000 was way too short. But also, in my opinion, the original one actually focused on the musicians more than just like people making brief cameos, which was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. It even showed like a little segment of them improvising and everything. And then also, one of my favorite parts in there, this is like, doesn't matter to a lot of people, most people probably forget about this. Right when Deems Taylor is about to talk about the rite of spring, like a pair of chimes just knocks over, and the camera just shifts to them trying to fix it up, and people are just trying so hard not to laugh. It kills me every time.
It's the magic of live theater, you know?
Yes, it's like watching theater. And also Deems Taylor was a huge name in theater, and they had Leopold Stokowski, who is a legend as a conductor, so...
Yeah.
Not to nerd out on music here, but...
hey,
come
that's
on!
fine. That's totally
come
cool.
on! And then also, fun fact, Igor Stravinsky, he was the only living composer at the time. And Rite of Spring, which included like all the dinosaurs and everything in animation, that was like his most controversial piece. And the fact that that Disney took something so controversial and made something so interesting out of it.
Yeah. And
they made it, like, dark and interesting and, like...
Are you talking about, like, the devilish character that comes in, like the Chernobog?
No. That was Night on Bald Mountain.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm remembering it now. It's been a while since I've seen Fantasia, so it's like, you know, just kind of remembering the names of the vignettes. And that's kind of part of why, like, it kind of plays into why it's not on my list, personally. I totally respect why it's on yours. The original Fantasia I would actually put down as an honorable mention, personally. The vignettes is a really, really neat way to tell stories. Just me, personally, I'm all about, like, the narrative structure, I guess. It's, like, the vignettes are cool. And, like, you know, Chernobog and, like, you know, being on that mountain. And the music is beautiful. For sure. Yeah, it's so amazing. Yeah. And then also there was that whole thing with the Nutcracker, how they didn't actually show the Nutcracker, but they actually showed it in like nature and seasons changing. I thought that was really interesting, especially since I did the Nutcracker a few times in elementary school. There you go.
I was a mouse in one segment.
There's a clue right there. Okay, so my number 9, this is another one that some people might think would be higher on some people's lists.
Yeah.
The Little Mermaid. So, The Little Mermaid is number 9. Yeah. You know, like, I'm sure, what, do you have it higher on your list? She might have it higher on her list.
I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more when we get there.
No spoiler alerts.
Yeah, but it's okay if it's higher on your list, like, you know.
Yeah.
But so The Little Mermaid is a piece that I really, really enjoy. Obviously, this is the start of the Disney Renaissance, right? And this is the emergence of Alan Menken as a composer, and his music in this movie is so awesome. I think I liked some of his later movies scores a little bit more than this one, and we'll talk a little bit more about those when we get higher on my list personally. But The Little Mermaid just has a lot of really fun characters too. That's the reason why it's on my list. You have Sebastian, you have Sebastian.
There's Scuttle, who nobody talks about.
Scuttle is so underrated.
He's so funny. He's so funny, and also Buddy Hackett, who's a comedy legend.
Oh
too,
yeah.
So.
Absolutely, yeah. You got Scuttle there. You got the really demented chef trying to kill Sebastian.
I keep forgetting about that guy.
Yeah. You have King Triton, who I actually did play at one point in my theater career. It's a little fun fact. They put me in a toga. King Triton was a really, really fun role, mostly because as a father character, he was a lot more interesting than some of the other ones that we've been getting around that point. Like, in terms of Disney especially, King Triton had a lot of really interesting like character moments, especially with his daughter. The main character of this movie, Ariel, it's kind of the reason why this is so low on my list, mostly because Ariel is not the strongest lead, in my opinion.
She's kind of a whiny brat if you think about it.
Yeah. I see. I didn't want to say it personally.
Hey, at least I said it before you.
Yeah.
You're just glad that I said it before you.
And that's why I have her here. So Ariel, there's so many people that have made great points, like arguing against like Ariel's strength. I think the most interesting part of the movie, this is going to sound really terrible, most interesting part she has is the part where she doesn't have any dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like she...
I actually agree with you on that one, because it's like she's trying to communicate with this guy with something that she normally doesn't have. Like, because it was her voice that he fell in love with in the first place. Mm-hmm. And without that, it's like, it's kind of a guessing game. So it's like, you kind of see where Ursula was going with it. It kind of doesn't make Ursula an uninteresting villain or in any way. It's like, that's another reason. Ursula is like one of the most interesting villains in Disney history, because she has motive. She has...
Ursula is... Yeah, that's part of the reason why it's so high also. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Ursula...
And then also her song, my God!
Yeah.
It's so much fun to sing at karaoke.
Oh,
so much fun.
I love Ursula. She is so fun. She's very similar to Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective in a lot of ways, in that both of them have so much joy and fun in doing wrong.
Oh,
you know, like, and I could tell that this voice actress was super, like, I could tell she was having a great time recording these parts in the studio. But yeah, no, The Little Mermaid, I still try to pop it in, like, anytime I need a fun Disney movie. Little Mermaid's a good one to pop in every now and then. But yeah, so here we go, getting down to it. Number 8. All right, Lauren, what do you got? Number 8.
All right, so for number 8, I have Aladdin.
Wow, there it is. There's Aladdin. All right.
Okay, so I'm saying Aladdin because that movie influenced me so much as a kid. I can't count how many times I've sung A Whole New World around the house, and also like grabbed a rug. It was like, I can show you the world. It was, oh. I can just picture her doing that now, and that sounds exactly like her. To any of the viewers that know her personally, yeah, she would definitely do that. But yeah, no, Aladdin is definitely... It's a very fun movie, and yes, exactly.
It's personally, it's a little bit higher on my list, and we'll talk about it. I'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to it.
Yeah.
But that's like the quintessential like essence of a Disney movie, I think. You know,
and also
how good
Alan
it is.
Menken.
Again, yeah, Alan Menken. I feel like his music is even better than The Little Mermaid in Aladdin, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like they actually did their research with the score and with everybody. And also, in terms of princesses, Jasmine is actually really interesting. She's smart, she's funny, she actually has, like, a good motive, and she's... I feel like, in a way, a little bit feminist for princesses, because...
And she has a pet tiger, also.
Yes!
Like,
come on!
You know, like...
A pet tiger! How can you not love a pet tiger? And then also, it's like, at the very beginning when we first meet Jasmine, she's basically talking about how her tiger, like, chased off a potential suitor, and she's like, oh, he was just playing with him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, just plenty of fun characters abounding in Aladdin, for sure.
Abu, of course.
Abu,
and
the main
how can
character.
you go wrong with Robin Williams? How can you go wrong?
Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm more than happy to go into further detail about it personally when I get to it on my list. But all I'll say for right now is there is no other role, not just in Disney, but in all of cinema in general. There is no actor as synonymous with a role as Robin Williams is to the genie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, those two apart just doesn't really work. But they tried it anyway a year ago, and it ended up
with
being...
Will Smith.
See, okay, so...
He doesn't want to talk about this.
Can I rant, please? Can I rant?
Okay, fine.
Okay.
It's your channel.
Okay. The Aladdin remake is trash. Anyone who tells me otherwise is absolutely wrong. Good reason. Good reason you haven't seen it, yeah. You know, so, like... I'll give Will Smith credit where it's due. Like, he couldn't really exactly live up to the legacy of what Robin Williams did with the role, but I think given the circumstances, he did the best job he could with the role. And in my opinion, Will Smith was actually the most interesting part of that Aladdin remake, but there are just so many other things wrong with it that... yeah. But anyway, yeah.
And then also going back to the genie, it's like the genie actually like modernized a lot of things, which was really, really fun for a lot of viewers. It was especially fun for me as a kid, and for people who saw the Aladdin show back when it was over at Disney California Adventure, how the guy playing the genie would just mix it up every single time. That was like one of the highlights of my trips to Disneyland as a kid. I just loved it so much.
Me too.
I still think my favorite time from when I saw that show in particular was when he did Gangnam Style, when that was huge. It was a good time!
So, funny story, when I went to see that show, I think it was back like around 2011 when Justin Bieber was a huge deal. Like, you know, when Justin Bieber was like 11 years old. So he, like... It's after Prince Ali, and the genie, like, his whole entourage is, like, running away. And the genie's like, wait, no, don't go. I just bought the new Justin Bieber movie on DVD. Oh, look, now they're running faster. Like, you know, it was just so, like, that genie, like, I'm sure he had, like, some sort of filter, but, like, you know, there was a lot of things that he said in that show that I was not expecting. And I loved it. You know, every single step of the way, like, even the genie's jokes in the movie, he's doing Jack Nicholson impersonations, like, especially, like, older, I get a lot of the jokes that the genie has. And it's just so incredible. But yeah, Aladdin's your number 8, huh?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it a little bit more in depth once we get to it on my list. But my number 8, The Princess and the Frog. So, The Princess and the Frog is my number 8, yeah.
I need to see that again. I've only seen it once.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, I love, like, the New Orleans, like, bourbon style and the feel of this movie. And
then also the fact that Disney made a black princess.
Yes, yeah. Like, Tiana is, in my opinion, the most interesting princess that Disney has had at that point in 2010 since Belle. In Beauty and the Beast, for sure. She, you know, she's a workaholic. She kind of has a little bit of a temper. And just the whole, like, how they were able to modernize this. I don't know if The Princess and the Frog was originally, like, a folk tale or whatever it was, but how they were able to modernize it.
It was, like, a fairy tale in a way, but then they just kind of, I'm pretty sure the reason that it was made was to shed light to the black community and other races. Mm-hmm. Also bring a classic twist on an old legend, because Disney, as we know, is like, they're the experts in modernizing like old tales and making them relatable to new audiences. They've done that with literally every single one of their movies.
Yeah.
So.
Black Lives Matter, by the way. So yes, Yeah, and that's the whole main reason why they switched the theme of Splash Mountain at Disneyland to
Yes,
become Princess and the Frog.
exactly.
I'm really excited once Disneyland opens back up from this whole thing. I'm really excited to see the finished product there because Princess and the Frog was so cool. I really love the I think this was the last hand-drawn animated feature that Disney had. Like, it's the latest one.
Yeah.
I mean, the Shadow Man also really fun villain.
Oh yeah.
One of the most fun villain songs that I can remember in recent memory. Friends on the Other Side. My buddy Francisco, who I just had on the podcast the other day, used that for an audition at one point in high school. Shout out to him. But
that's not surprising at all, and I don't even know you, Francisco, but you seem cool.
There you go. But yeah, Princess and the Frog. Number 8 on the list. I need to watch it again for sure.
Me
yeah,
too.
we all need to watch it again, I think, especially right now. But continuing, number 7.
Okay, so number 7 for me is The Emperor's New Groove.
What?
Seriously, I watched it again as an adult and I just found it absolutely hysterical. It's so funny. It's so underrated. It's just...
Wow.
Why are you giving me this
I'm
look?
not, like, I was not expecting that to be on the list at all.
Seriously?
Like, I didn't even, like, that was one I didn't even think about, honestly. I mean, I definitely agree with you. It's very fun. I think it's very underrated for sure. I don't know if it's, like, one of Disney's, like, best even around that point. Like, it came out, when, the year 2000?
Yeah.
Somewhere around that point? Yeah, no, the year 2000, like a year after that, Lilo and Stitch came out, or something like that.
And it probably got overshadowed by Lilo and Stitch, which is probably why.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's like, it's so quotable, and it's just so funny. I mean, Cusco, he is a little bit of a jerk and everything, because it's like, they kind of made a protagonist that's not really exactly likable, which I think was a really good move, and also, Kronk, oh my god. We call my cat Kronk all the time.
Kronk is definitely an interesting character.
Oh, he's so fun. And also, Izima, she's like such a fun villain as well. And just the entire movie is just so full of really good jokes and everything. And there were so many that flew over my head as a kid. And then when I watched it as an adult, I just would fall over laughing. It was...
She busts up. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
But, yeah, so... My number 7, Lauren is gonna flip out over this one. So are you ready for this?
It is?
It's Tangled.
What?
Yep.
What?
Tangled is number 7.
What?
Yeah. I love Tangled. If we put Frozen on the list, this is probably where it would have gone, like in the 7 to 8 range. But Tangled, here's the thing though, Tangled is definitely a hell of a lot better than Frozen.
Thank
for
you.
Sure.
Thank you for saying that.
We're going to get into more details about it when we get to it on Lauren's list, for sure. But I definitely really admire the film for a lot of things that it did. Like, first of all, I think the story of Tangled is absolutely brilliant. You want to talk about, like, updating the story for modern times? Like,
yes!
Everybody knows the story of Rapunzel, you know? But there's a reason for her hair to grow long here. Like, you know, the Mother Abbess, you know, she has that little herb and she is putting it in her hair. And the hair grows longer and she lives longer. And she keeps her up in a tower. And there's a reason for her to be up in the tower with the long hair. And, like, you know, like every single time I watch that beginning, I'm just like, oh, this is so brilliant. You know, like, it's so cool. I love... And yeah, the main character definitely very feisty for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely very modern. I love the use of the like the folkish music almost, like the acoustic guitars throughout.
Yeah.
I just think it fits really well. Zachary Levi as Flynn Rider. You know, like on the surface, Zachary Levi, you know him as Shazam.
And on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, she's a huge fan of that. But Zachary Levi, on the surface, I mean, I didn't exactly think he would fit as Flynn Rider, but, like, he definitely proves the doubters wrong. He's super good. He has an excellent singing voice. If anybody's ever seen the Broadway revival of She Loves Me, He's in the lead in that one. He is excellent. He's adorable in that one. Very different from Flynn
It's Zachary
Rider.
Levi. Of course he's adorable.
Yeah. But Tangled, number 7 on the list, definitely very fun. One of my favorite movie horses of all time.
Maximus is the best.
That horse.
I remember the very first time I saw this. Every time the horse just came on screen, I'm just dying. He's interesting. He's so funny. He just.
I could watch that horse for hours. But yeah, so Tangled sits at number 7. Getting down to it, number 6.
Okay, so number 6 for me is Zootopia.
There it is, Zootopia. Okay, why number 6?
So it's number 6 because I, of course, have others that I feel like have impacted me a little bit more. But Zootopia, I think, is just brilliant in how they designed all the animals, how they address racism, which is really, really important. It's a really good way to teach kids about it. It's a really good way to kind of just show how people are prejudiced in a really lighthearted and also I guess, kid-friendly way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not just for, like, educational reasons. Also, it's like Disney knows how to make fun of itself, and they did a few fun examples in this one, and...
Oh, yeah.
And also, the casting was just brilliant. Jennifer Goodwin is Judy Hopps. Jason Bateman is Nick Wilde.
Yeah.
And also, if anybody ships Judy and Nick, I'm on that team. I think they're adorable together.
It'd be interesting babies it would make and breeding.
Bushy tails and big ears. Like my cat.
But anyway, yeah, no, I was like, so I have Zootopia on my list also. It's a little bit higher than number 6. I can talk about it in a little more detail when we get to that as well. But one thing I will say about it right now, I'll definitely agree with you. The casting, on point for sure. Jennifer Goodwin, Jason Bateman as Nick Wilde. You want to talk about a perfect cast. I was watching the trailer for this movie in the theaters, and like I didn't even have to listen to this guy speak, and I was like, oh, that looks like a Jason Bateman character. And like, you know, as soon as he talks, and I'm just like, yeah, that's Jason Bateman. That sounds about right. And of course, he can't overlook Idris Elba as the police chief.
Yes, he's so good.
Yeah.
And the fact that he made the Frozen joke in the movie.
Idris Elba is a living legend for sure. I love him.
Who can't love Idris Elba?
Speaking of animals, my number 6 is another surprising one in terms of placement, I'm assuming, for a lot of viewers. The Lion King is number 6 for me. Hear me out. Hear me out. So, The Lion King, I love this movie, first and foremost. In the long run, every single movie on my list and my honorable mentions, I love them. You know, some people might be like, why isn't The Lion King higher on your list, you lunatic? Here's why. Like I said, I love the movie, perfect casting. James Earl Jones, Jeremy Irons, Matthew Broderick even, perfect.
I mean, his shirt says it too.
Yeah. Scar at one point was my favorite Disney villain growing up. If you were to ask me, like, what my favorite Disney movie was, like, my freshman year of high school, I probably would have told you The Lion King. But being a little bit older and a little bit more, like, seasoned watching movies, I can kind of see that The Lion King, similar to Black Panther, which I mentioned on my Marvel list, I think The Lion King's a tad bit overrated, in all honesty. So The Lion King, like, my biggest problem with The Lion King is actually a point that the Nostalgia Critic makes on his review and during the Disney December. That's the message that it has.
Yeah.
It's like, you're past, like, you know, like Rafiki, that's a very poignant scene, by the way. Rafiki smacks Simba on the head, and he's like, ow, what was that for? It doesn't matter, it's in the past. You know, like, and I think that's
that's
really,
a fair point.
like, you know, learning from your past, you can either run from it or learn from it. You know, I think that's a really clever way to send that message. But once he does confront his past starts to win, even though the past wasn't true that they were portraying. You know, Scar was selling the point that, oh, Simba was the one that killed Mufasa. But, like, when Simba comes back to Pride Rock, Scar starts to beat him. You know, it's like, it's kind of a mixed message in a lot of ways until, in fact, he didn't commit the crime. And then he's like, he turns around and he's like, haha, it wasn't me. But it's, I don't know.
And then also, like, fair enough, this was lowly based off of Hamlet.
Oh, well, yeah.
So that could probably make sense why it didn't, like, go over
if anything,
in that way.
If anything, it's loosely based off of, like, the first act of Hamlet. Like, you know, it's like, it goes from, like, the first act of Hamlet, then it skips all the way to the end, to the final showdown. It's like, it's interesting. Like, if you...
Well, I mean, it's a kid's movie. You can't include all the other...
Of course. But, yeah, you know, if you want to watch Hamlet, just watch a production of Hamlet, or watch Kenneth Branagh do Hamlet. But, like, it's... No, The Lion King, I definitely love it. I love Scar's villain song, for sure. It's one of my favorite villain songs, personally. He turns pretty much a pack of hyenas into the Third Reich. It's, you know, it's a terrible visual. It's, like, a terrible idea, for sure. But, like, the visual of it, I can't help but think is just, like, badass. You know, like, how all those hyenas are marching. I love James Earl Jones, like I said. I think he's a perfect fit. Simba. I mean, I also love all the songs throughout the movie. Hakuna Matata, I think, is a ton of fun. Love singing that as a kid. Can You Feel the Love Tonight is kind of, you know, it's.
I just can't wait to be king.
Oh, I can't wait to be king is a
banger. I love this. Come on, it's like banger, I sang that all the time as a kid. All the time.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah.
I would sing Circle of Life all the time as a kid.
Of course you did.
Yeah, Circle of Life is a great opening song. And that opening sunrise, of course, iconic. It's a beautiful looking film. And the atmosphere of this movie, like, if you watch this movie, the scope of it is just so gigantic. Like, it is so beautiful to look at. I recommend, if you ever have a chance to see it on a big screen, like at a drive-in theater during the pandemic, it's like, I would definitely jump at that chance because it looks really cool on the big screen.
Oh, yeah. And I do have to say one thing about the live-action one.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The animated cubs are so adorable. I just needed to get that out of my system. They're so cute. They're so cute.
It's so cute, of course. Like I said, crazy cat lady over here. So we're already at the halfway point, Lauren. Our lists have been extremely different so far. I've had a lot of fun. What's your number 5?
Number 5 for me, Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, okay.
This is one of my favorites. I love this movie so much. So, part of it was because when I was in high school, this was the first movie I actually went to on a date. And so that's partly why I love it so much. And then also, when you make a movie about video games, they did everything right with this one. They included like little cameos, and then also I love how they had it from a point of a bad guy who wants to be the good guy. I mean, the voice casting in it, John C. Reilly, Sarah Silverman, Jane Lynch. It's so good.
Jane Lynch, who is most famous for Glee around that point when it came out, I think. It's Glee is another story for another time. But yeah, Wreck-It Ralph, I definitely agree with you there. I love that movie. I was very, very close to putting it on my list myself. Like,
what?
I was very, very close. Yeah, so and you'll see why with the top 5 movies that I have. But like this, I mean, I'm a big retro gamer. So when I saw this in theaters, I was just like, oh my god, this is so amazing. This is such a neat idea. Why didn't anybody think about this before, you know? Like, you know, John C. Reilly, who, by the way, similar to Jason Bateman, I watched the trailer and I was like, that looks like a John C. Reilly character. And sure enough, it was John C. Reilly, and I'm a big fan of his, you know.
He's amazing.
Talladega Nights and Step Brothers, like, I was looking at it like, oh, this is a big departure for John C. Reilly, you know? Like,
yeah, and then also it's like they animated each character to look like the person who was voicing them. Like, they did such a great job with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, like, each of the characters is really fun and interesting, and just King Candy, such a good villain.
King Candy, yeah. So that's a great point that you just made there. So King Candy is actually part of the reason why this movie hasn't made my list. It's mostly because of how they revealed that he was the villain at the end. Disney was going through a stretch of, like, oh, we're just gonna go ahead and reveal who the villain is at the very end of the movie. You know, I think that was mostly the case with the Pixar stuff, but not so much in Tangled, from what I remember, or even like Princess and the Frog. Like Princess and the Frog, you knew who the villain was from the get go. Tangled, like, I don't even remember if there was really a villain. Oh yeah, Mother Abbess.
There was.
Mother Abbess.
Gothel.
See, I'm an idiot now. So like. But yeah, Tangled not so much. But Wreck-It Ralph, you didn't know who the villain was until King Candy said, "Oh yeah, look at me, I'm the villain," and I'm just sitting there like.
But they actually made him like an intelligent villain.
Yeah.
Like, of course, it's like he's obsessed with winning with this whole sugar rush and is trying to control this game so that he can just keep on winning and everything. Mm-hmm. And I also like how they included a bunch of other, like, little video game references in it. Like, one example is when he's hacking into the code. He uses the Konami code to get into it. I think that was a really, really cool detail.
It's a really neat detail. Yeah.
Yeah, they really included a lot of details from old video games, from newer games and everything. And even just, like...
Yeah.
They just did an amazing job with it. And then also, another thing I have to say about this movie, the end credits song by Owl City.
Oh,
I love it so much.
Good. Yeah, absolutely.
I know I keep talking about the soundtracks, but in terms of like some animated movie soundtracks, I love this one. They did such an amazing job with it, and
yeah. So, and also kind of a side story here. Around the point where I graduated high school, the friends that I had, they were still going to high school around that point. A couple of them actually dressed up like Fix-It Felix for Halloween. And like shout out to
I love that.
Shout out to Tyler and Nick if you're watching this. I miss you guys. But yeah, no, they dressed up like Fix-It Felix. I don't know if it was like both of them or like one of the two of them. I'm pretty sure like one of them at least dressed up as Fix-It Felix. But I remember their costumes were so on point. And Fix-It Felix is just a ridiculous character.
He's so fun!
Oh,
like, that one line that kills me every time is when he first meets Calhoun, and he's like, "That high definition, your face, it's amazing."
It's like...
that line just kills me every time.
It's like what would happen if you crossed Gaston from Beauty and the Beast with John from Garfield. I made her crack. Alright, so my number 5 now. Again, this might be a bit of a surprise for you.
When is it?
Alice in Wonderland. So, Alice in Wonderland, again, hear me out. This is the highest one of the classic Disney movies is going on my list. So, Alice in Wonderland, just, the thing that I love about it is it's just so weird. Like, it is so bizarre and so unlike anything else Disney was doing around that point.
Well, I mean, it was Lewis Carroll.
Carroll, yeah. And, like, Alice...
Like, I mean, compared to, like, other Disney movies, I haven't seen this one in a long time.
Yeah.
Fairly saying, but...
Alice is a character I think, is... I mean, the voice actress was so perfect for this. She was very nice, very polite, and she was, constantly asking for directions and everything, but, like... There were points where she would get exasperated, she would get angry, and, like, she was polite and just like an actual kid, a lot of those characteristics that I had growing up, like, I see a lot of that in Alice, and just, like, the characters she encounters throughout Wonderland once she finally gets there are just so zany and out there. Who can forget the Cheshire Cat? Who can forget Tweedledee and Tweedledum? Who can forget the freaking caterpillar sitting in the tree? I think Alan Rickman would have voiced that character. May he rest in peace. But just all those characters are so weird. The Mad Hatter, when Johnny Depp isn't playing him, it's like, I mean, the Mad Hatter is really cool.
Well, I mean, it was Tim Burton. Of course, it had to be Johnny Depp.
Oh, yeah. But you also have one of the most underrated villains in Disney history, I think, in the Queen of Hearts. And see, some of you guys might see I tend to rant sometimes. A lot of that might have to do with, like, watching the Queen of Hearts. Just how she gets, like, all, like, like, how she doesn't... Yeah. No, the Queen of Hearts is definitely a very, very fun villain, and it's a very fun movie. It's It's the highest a classic Disney animated film will go on my list, just as a brief little spoiler, but I definitely recommend you guys check it out if you haven't already or if you haven't seen it in a long time. I think it's definitely worth a watch. And with that, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here.
Yes!
All right.
I'm excited for these ones.
Number 4.
All right, so my number 4, we talked about this earlier, is The Lion King.
Ah, there it is. There it is, number 4. All right.
So I gotta say, it's definitely higher up on my list because it's one of the classics, and this one also had a huge impact on me as a kid, and this is The Crazy Cat Lady and Me Talking. And Lion King definitely influenced me a lot, because a lot of the time with my cats growing up, we kind of imagined it being Lion King and everything, and my brother as well. And I also had a cat named Simba growing up. May he rest in peace. I love you, Simba. And then also, other things with it was that I found like all the animal characters interesting, even Timon and Pumbaa. Even though they were like such goofballs, and the score and everything.
I think
Elton John, you just can't go wrong with him.
That was that's actually another that's actually a point I completely forgot about. Timon and Pumbaa. Like, I think perfectly cast. Nathan Lane is Timon. I love Nathan Lane to death. Ernie Sabella, I think is his name, as Pumbaa. Yeah, no, their chemistry was so amazing. You know,
it really was.
Definitely a beautiful looking movie. I can definitely see why it's so high on your list because of all the cats involved.
And then also, it's like, I also like how there was a lot of character development, even though Simba kind of just thinks, oh, I can do what I want as a king. It's like you kind of see that there's more than just being king and everything, so.
Right.
I know that probably wasn't explained very well, but...
Hey, you know, it's all good. And
then also my brother, he was like, if Lion King isn't this high on your list, I'm gonna get you. So Brian, this is for you, but also, I love The Lion King, just so you know.
There you go. Shout out to Brian if you're watching this. All right, so my number 4, in my opinion, this is, I think, the most underrated of all of Disney's animated filmography here. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is number 4.
Yes! So, that is such a good one.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame is so amazing. Quasimodo, I think, as a hero is really... I think it's really incredible what they do with him. Like, they paint him as a true underdog. I always love the underdog. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but come on. And Tom Hulce from Amadeus voices Quasimodo quite great, I might add.
With a great voice too.
Yeah, I think it's Demi Moore, right, as Esmeralda.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Demi Moore.
Yeah, and then also they had another actress singing her voice. I think it was Heidi Blickenstaff.
Yeah, must have been. Yeah, but yeah, she was so cool. One of the strongest female characters I can remember in Disney's filmography for sure, and it's still a film that remains socially relevant even today in 2020. This movie can be terrifying sometimes.
Yeah, like I actually watched it recently, and I'm like, how did I take this as a kid?
Right?
This is insane.
That's the thing. I didn't watch Hunchback of Notre Dame until I was much older. So I feel like I was able to stomach this a lot better than I would have as a kid.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, real quick, what everybody remembers about Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's the villain, Frollo.
Oh. Oh, God.
He is such an incredible villain. Not necessarily for his actions.
So incredible, like, it's unsettling.
He just makes you feel queasy when you watch the movie. Like, it's a great character, you know? He claims that he's a man of God, yet he's doing all these terrible things, yet the thing is...
It just shows, like, how much hypocrisy there is in the system, not just in, like, a government system, but through religious leadership and everything.
And he manages to justify it every single time. It's a great character. Tony Jay, I think, was incredible voicing this. Definitely made up for the Tom and Jerry movie, which he filmed 4 years before this. It's not Disney, but I just had to mention that. He definitely made up for it. Frollo is definitely the most memorable part of this movie for me. Like, his song is definitely not like Disney to do. Like, the imagery that occurs in Hellfire, that song, what it's called, the imagery, unlike Disney, you know, and it's a very adult movie, like, especially even now, 2020, so, like, and the atmosphere, the scope of the movie, Notre Dame looks absolutely beautiful. Scope is just so vast and so wide for 2D animation.
Yeah, and the score.
Oh, and
Alan Menken,
Alan
going back
Menken
to Alan Menken again, and again, and again, and again. Just saying, he's an incredible composer, and this one, he really knocked it out of the park.
Alan Menken's the man, for sure. The one thing that I think holds Hunchback of Notre Dame from being higher on my list are the gargoyles, I think.
I agree. It's
the
like,
gargoyles...
they were not necessary.
This is another point that the Nostalgia Critic makes, and I can't help but agree with him here again. The whole message of the movie is to not judge people based on how they look, and yet that's constantly what the gargoyles are doing throughout the entire movie.
I mean, it's like they're trying to do it in like a good way because they claim to be his friends and everything.
Well, again, it's like it's a mixed message.
I'm pretty sure they did it just to make it like less dark for kids. I'm pretty sure that's why they included the gargoyles, and then also I'm pretty sure the gargoyles weren't there in the Victor Hugo novel.
No.
They weren't.
They're even called Victor Hugo and Laverne.
Yes, exactly!
Yeah.
That just wasn't a necessary move.
The gargoyles only exist to be comic relief. That's pretty much it.
And it didn't really work.
But anyway, Hunchback of Notre Dame, if you've never seen this movie, what the heck are you doing? This is a movie I think is tailor-made to be a live-action remake.
Yes.
In the same vein as Mulan, like, I would love to see, like, I saw, like, a fan casting of Chris Hemsworth as Captain Phoebus, and I think that's a perfect choice.
Oh, yes.
I can't remember which other actors were there. Like, I think one fan casting actually had Daniel Radcliffe as Quasimodo, but, like, I don't remember for sure. Like, well, Daniel Radcliffe can sing. If they wanted to make it a musical,
he can sing. I mean,
like, I don't know. This isn't.
I mean, they didn't make Mulan into a musical. You don't really know what they're gonna do next.
Yeah, but this isn't fan casting speculation, really. But this is ranking. But just a little side note there. Hunchback of Notre Dame is my number 4. Getting right down to it, Lauren.
Here we go. Top 3. We talked about this earlier as well. Little Mermaid.
There it is.
All right, and the reason Little Mermaid is so high on my list was because of the influence that she had on me as a kid, not the whiny brat part we were talking about earlier, but the music.
Yeah.
Like, Part of Your World. Ariel was the one that really helped me start singing and, in a way, kind of find my voice. That's probably why it's so high on my list.
Ironically enough, because Ariel loses her voice, and that helps her find her voice. Little Mermaid, it's definitely, like I said, it's definitely on my list for a good reason. Number 3 is definitely, I think, a good spot for it, too, but I don't know. I just like other films more than this one, personally. Getting back to the music, also, one thing about the movie that I wanted to be a little bit more interesting was Prince Eric.
Yeah.
And
it's just a pretty face.
I feel like Prince Eric is definitely more interesting in the Broadway versions of The Little Mermaid.
I mean, the Broadway versions of any of the Disney movies definitely hype it up even more, from what I've noticed from stage adaptations and everything, because they always add more music, they always add more characters, whatever they do with it.
Shout out to Eddie, by the way. Played Prince Eric. But Prince Eric has 2 songs in the Broadway version, and like
he has nothing in
this version gives him nothing. Yeah. So
well, I mean, they really wanted to focus on Ariel, which was a good move on their end. But I do have to say, it's like, I also think it was interesting seeing Ariel and Eric's relationship develop versus like some of the earlier Disney films, because even though it was love at first sight for Ariel, it was like you got to see it develop, other than with Sleeping Beauty. Like, I cannot stand the romance in Sleeping Beauty, because it was basically, you're love at first sight, when will I see you again? It's creepy, and come on. Nobody talks like that.
Sleeping Beauty...
not to rant or anything.
That's actually an honorable mention that I have, just a side note. Sleeping Beauty is not on my list. And here's why. That's only because of the side characters. Sleeping Beauty, I feel like liked its villain, Maleficent, who I think is the best villain in Disney history.
Oh yeah.
As well as the fairies and even the kings, I think are funny. But the main characters, the reason why it's not on my list is because those main characters are so boring.
Oh yeah.
Like, and the romance is boring and like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in Little Mermaid, they at least made it interesting, and also it's like the villain is interesting. They have really fun sidekicks. Flounder. I forgot about him. But I still have to say, like, in terms of like the sidekick characters, I love Sebastian. But Scuttle, when I was watching this over again, oh my god, Scuttle was so funny.
Scuttle was ridiculous, in the best way possible.
Oh yeah.
So my number 3, this is another film that we talked about earlier. A lot of you might be surprised it's this high on my list. Zootopia. So, here's why it's number 3. I worked at a movie theater at one point in my life for quite some time. And aside from The Force Awakens, which we had at that location for 3 months, the second, longest run of a movie that we had at that facility was Zootopia. Because so many people were coming in, even around the time Captain America Civil War came out in May. Yeah. Still, we had Zootopia in our lineup, because it was that good. People were coming back to see it. They didn't exactly care about the Jungle Book remake. They knew Zootopia was as impactful as it was. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. Zootopia, I saw the trailer for it, and I did not think it was going to amount to anything, really. It was just the DMB scene with the sloths, which I thought were pretty clever.
Yeah, but that scene, they actually included it in the film. And the scene itself actually was even funnier than we...
Oh, yeah. No, the scene's definitely hilarious. I love it. But I thought that was going to be all there was to the movie, is the point. Yeah. And man, am I glad.
Disney, they always tend to blow our expectations out of the water.
Yeah, man, am I glad that wasn't the whole movie. It has a lot to say about not just racial stereotypes, but gender stereotypes. And I still feel like it's extremely relevant even today in 2020, for sure. Zootopia definitely has everything. The casting is definitely spot on. Jennifer Goodwin, Jason Bateman, we talked a lot about.
And even some of the other minor characters, like Jenny Slate, I totally forgot to mention her.
Yeah,
I really liked her.
And Jenny Slate turns out to be the villain as well.
I know! That is something you never expect. And then also, another thing I totally forgot to mention, the Breaking Bad reference that they had in the movie.
Yep!
Oh, they inserted it in the best way possible with the nightshade flowers, and then we need a call from Walter and Jesse. I don't watch Breaking Bad, but my brother and my dad are huge fans, and when I saw this...
Me too. Yeah. Me too, yeah.
I meant to high five.
Hit me.
I meant to high five you there.
I was raising my hand. Am I going to keep this in? Maybe not. Screw it. I'm putting it in. Okay, but yeah, Zootopia is just such an incredible, incredible feature. Beautiful looking feature also. Extremely colorful. Yes. That is one thing, that scene with the Try Everything song playing in the soundtrack when she is riding public transit.
Such a mood, too, and it's like an anthem.
It's
an anthem! Come on!
It's an anthem, plus I never thought Disney could make public transit look so magical, and yet they did it. Public transit is not the most fun thing to use in the world, but Disney managed to find a way to make it look like... I was watching it man, I want to take the freaking light rail now.
Yeah, well, it's Disney. They majored in magic in college, I'm sure.
Yeah. In college. See what I have to deal with? Alright. Here we are. Number 2.
Alright, so for number 2...
What you got?
Ralph Breaks the Internet.
What? Ralph Breaks the Internet. Okay. Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And here's why. I love the first movie, but this one added to it on 100 times more. And also, the movie itself is just a love note to Disney. And also, it's Disney making fun of itself in every way possible, and it is hysterical. It's making fun of the internet. It's making fun of everything. And I think it's hysterical, and it's a lot of fun. And the scene where Vanellope is with all the Disney princesses, that is one of my favorite scenes
Yeah.
of all time. It's so funny. It's so well put together. And then also the scene where Vanellope's about to leave and then Merida says something in Scottish and all the other princesses are like, what did she say? Oh, we can't understand her. She's from the other studio.
Oh, so
that
funny.
joke was so well done. I also love how they actually put the original voice actors from all of the roles, or most of them, since some of them were made like 70 years earlier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And actually included them in all of them. Oh my god. I can't talk about how amazing this was.
Yeah.
I can write a whole book on how much I loved it.
It's definitely, I feel like, so, again, this is another film that I was very close to putting on my list, personally. I would call this another honorable mention, but I definitely agree with you on this front. It's better than the original, for sure. And, like, I did not think it was going to be. Like,
it took a while for you to convince me that, too.
Yeah, I kept telling her for the longest time, Ralph Breaks the Internet is so much better than the first one. And
I mean, the first one is amazing.
Yeah,
but
she was so insistent on, like, no.
But after, like, watching this a few times, it ended up being so much better. So much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just the scenes with the princesses, that's probably why I love this so much. And also how they included everything in the Disney universe. They included Star Wars. They included Marvel.
Yep.
They included Pixar. They even made fun of Grand
scene.
Theft Auto and of eBay and oh god.
Like that first visual where they go into the internet is just so really it's just so mesmerizing to look at, just to see how vast that world is, and the internet itself. It's a perfect, like, I don't know if euphemism is the right word for it, but like it's the perfect like representation, I guess you can say, of how vast that world is, the World Wide Web.
I wouldn't say it's a euphemism.
Yeah, words
I
are
know
tough
what you
sometimes.
mean. I know what you mean.
But yeah, no, that like visual where they like walk in and they see like, you know, oh, you got Marvel over here, you got Star Wars, you got all the Disney princesses over here. It was really cool. It almost reminded me of like walking into a mall in many ways.
Yes, exactly.
It was
like walking into Disneyland as a whole too.
It was a really unique visual for sure. Something
like
I had
Disney
never
did
seen
an
from Disney
amazing
before.
job with this, and I really have to commend them on that because
Yeah.
I can't
for
get
sure.
over how amazing that was. And then also going back to the princesses, the scene where they all band together and rescue Ralph and use their own like abilities, and also that moment going to the score where they included bits and pieces from each of their movies in that scene.
Yeah.
It was so good. Come on, just come on.
Come on, yeah, no, she loves that movie for sure. I love it too. My number 2 is a film we talked about already, Aladdin. Aladdin is very high on my list. This, like I said, this is exactly why I love Disney so much, and it's why I love performing so much. It's because of the fun in it. The score is fun. The characters are fun. The scenery is fun. The action is fun even. This was a Disney movie, like, very different from everything else in the Disney Renaissance. It felt like, not to sound like, you know, like a sexist dude or anything, but it felt like a Disney movie made for boys, which wasn't usually the case back then. Like,
yeah, exactly. But also it catered to girls as well. And I'm not just saying that through Jasmine.
Right.
They actually created a character that was fun.
Of course, yeah.
They created a lot of really fun characters that people of all genders and ages and everyone can relate to. And
yeah. And I've gone ad nauseum about the genie already, and Robin Williams. I miss Robin Williams every single day.
10,000 years can give you such a crank in the neck, or whatever that line was.
God. But yeah, the genie, again, no one more synonymous with their specific role than Robin Williams was to the genie. I also have to talk about Jafar for a second.
Yes.
I think Jafar is kind of an underrated villain in a lot of ways, because he is very, like, he's so cunningly deceptive, and like it seems like a more traditional villain. I think he's the better version of the evil queen from Snow White.
Oh yeah.
Definitely very deceptive, and he wants to do whatever it takes to reach the top, become the sultan, the sorcerer, you know, all that jazz. But the villain, again, smartly enough of the screenwriters, Aladdin was able to outsmart him at the end. It's it's so cleverly written, which I don't think a lot of people tend to talk about with this movie. The screenplay is so great. Only 90 minutes, also, unlike the film that shall not be named. It was 2 hours and 8 minutes compared to the 90, and like you could just feel that runtime like stretching out like a Laffy Taffy to its densest capacity. Aladdin was only 90 minutes, the original. It was condensed, and the story was easy to understand. It was easy to comprehend. The musical numbers, it was in and out, quick and to the point. Very, very grand as well. I love Aladdin. I could watch this film so many times in a day, and I don't think I'd get bored from it, honestly. But, yeah. But here we are.
Here we go!
This is the moment of truth. Number 1. All right, Lauren.
All right, so my number 1, we talked about this earlier.
Yep.
It's Tangled.
Yep, I knew it.
And Tangled is my number 1 for so many reasons. It's not just because Rapunzel is my favorite Disney princess and because I'm going to be playing her in Into the Woods once this whole coronavirus business is over. It's honestly because I feel like Tangled has the best sidekicks. They have the best adaptation of a modern fairy tale. And also, I just haven't related to a princess so much. Because, growing up, I was a bit sheltered, and I can relate to that with Rapunzel. And then also, another thing I love about this was seeing her relationship with Flynn develop over this time.
Yeah.
The way, and also they have amazing chemistry, and I'm not just saying this as a couple, but before they became a couple. And also how basically when they meet, he gets into the tower and she basically just hits him with a frying pan.
I
loved it so
I think
much.
the way they trade snaps with each other and like the insults.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Again, similar to Aladdin, I definitely agree with you. It's very cleverly written for sure. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. The 3D animation looks, I feel like, oh man, this is such a great quintessential modern Disney fairy tale that they've told here.
Yeah.
I think I See the Light might be my favorite part of that movie because it is just so beautiful to look at. So beautifully animated, and the song itself is so great.
Oh yeah. And then also going back to the score, a lot of the other songs in the film are a lot of fun, like the I Have a Dream, I Have a Dream. Oh, that's so much fun. Mm-hmm. And also, it would just have me just rolling on the floor laughing. And also,
of course,
all the sidekicks in the movie, we talked a lot about Maximus, the horse.
Yeah.
Maximus just stole every single scene he was in, but also, nobody talks about Pascal. Pascal is honestly one of the best Disney sidekicks, too. Just his reactions to everything. He's adorable. He's sassy, and also his little scenes with Flynn and everything, and how he communicates with Rapunzel. Oh.
I look so weird right now.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah. And also, this was a gift I got in another show, so of course they had to bring him.
Yeah, that's one of her prized possessions, I think, right?
Yep.
One of them. Yeah.
My lucky charm.
There you
I
go.
brought this when I auditioned for Into the Woods.
And it helped her get the role. There you go. That's awesome.
You gotta do what it takes. And also another thing about Tangled was when I was in high school, my group of friends that I would hang with, we would watch this movie all the time. And then also, we did a little scavenger hunt for a sleepover, and one of the things that we had to do was recreate a scene from Tangled. We came up with some pretty good ones. I remember my friend, she was Rapunzel on the top of a slide, and I was Flynn at the bottom of the tower. That was back when my hair was brown.
Of course, yeah.
It was a good time.
I remember, I can definitely understand why it's number 1 then for you because of all the memories you have and how relatable it is. My memories of watching Tangle for the first time are, I don't want to say fuzzy. I definitely remember the first time I watched this movie was actually on the bus ride to my grad night at Disneyland. This was the movie they put on. And I was sitting next to my my buddy Caitlin. Shout out to Caitlin, by the way. and she was just baffled that I had never seen this movie, or seen this movie at that point in my life. I didn't go to see it in the theaters, but I've seen it a handful of times since then. Lauren, please. But I mean, like we talked about, I remember watching it, and I remember just thinking how brilliant this concept was, and how they adapted this story to fit into the modern times.
Oh yeah.
And I've watched it a handful of times since then, and I've liked it even more every single time I popped it in. So, yeah, I can definitely understand why it's your top film.
Oh yeah.
So, my number one. This is a film that has not been mentioned really at all on this countdown. Beauty and the Beast is my number one. The reason why that is because everything about Beauty and the Beast is perfect. The main character is perfect. The romance is perfect. The villain is perfect. The score is perfect.
Yes!
The animation is perfect. Every single thing about Beauty and the Beast. Like, if you go back and watch this movie, you will probably not have a single flaw with it. I mean, it's just... Belle as a main character is so... It's the most human I think Disney had ever been at that point. She is a recluse. Like, she's a beautiful woman, but, like, she doesn't really care what other people think about her. Gaston, as a villain, he's the big oafy... Like, in any other movie, Gaston would have been the hero.
Oh, yeah.
Like... But
they actually kind of turned the tables with this whole thing, and that's why it ended up being so brilliant. And I know a lot of people have issues with the relationship with Belle and the Beast, and I keep seeing a bunch of BuzzFeed articles about how people are talking about Stockholm Syndrome, but that's, like, not really the case. Belle was at least strong enough to stand up to this guy.
Right.
And also he chooses to let her go. It's like, that's a relationship that turns good. That's why this is such a perfect romance.
Exactly. And the Beast, in my opinion, is perhaps the most underrated, like, male hero, I think, in all of Disney's filmography. I love the Beast so much. I love his design. He is very werewolf-like, exactly what I would envision a beast like this to be, especially in this type of environment. My one thing about the Beast is he doesn't really get a solo song in the movie, and they do give him a solo song in the Broadway production, If I Can't Love Her, which is so chilling.
And in the
movie, Evermore. Yeah, Evermore's a good number. I like If I Can't Love Her more, personally, because,
I mean, you probably know that one more. Although I do have to say, with the live-action one, I saw the live-action one in theaters twice, and I cried every single time at Evermore.
Yeah, me too.
Every single time.
Me too.
And not just because it was Dan Stevens.
The Beast is such a tragic human being, for sure. He is just so broken in every single way. And when Belle shows up, it's a perfect redemption arc, I think. It's very... This relationship reminds me a lot of Phantom of the Opera in a lot of ways. In some ways. It's a
less creepy version of Phantom of the Opera.
Less creepy, yeah.
Because, I'm pretty sure that Eric... in Phantom of the Opera, basically just wanted to have Christine all to himself. That wasn't the way it was with the Beast and Belle.
Yeah,
because
Disney...
he didn't just want Belle all to himself. It's like, she basically makes a deal with him, and like you said, it's a redemption arc for him.
Mm-hmm. In many ways, Disney kind of improved on that romance aspect, like we talked about.
Because this was based off of a tale that was basically teaching young girls that they will learn to love the men that they are betrothed to, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why that Beauty and the Beast was originally written, but this was a really good way for Disney to come across it.
Totally.
That probably wasn't said very well, but okay.
I also really love all of the inanimate objects and their personalities.
Yes!
Lumiere,
yes!
Be Our Guest is still one of the best looking animated musical numbers I've ever seen in my life. Mrs. Potts, I think, is really good. Chip is adorable.
Yes.
Cogsworth, the clock. I never thought I would be watching a movie where the clock is just making a ton of puns everywhere. I'm... If it's not Baroque, don't fix it. It's so, deadpan. I think that's what he says in the Broadway production, at least.
Yeah, well, at least that's the key to a good pun.
But anyway, let's talk again about the villain real quick. Because Gaston, like I said, in any other Disney movie around that point, he would have been the hero. But as more events start to happen, and like he starts to not get his way more and more, he becomes a lot more unhinged.
Oh,
and it's a very realistic evolution. It's very like I hate to say it, it felt again very human in a lot of ways, you know, because I've known a lot of people that have gone down that path. You know, they don't get their way and then they just unravel. It's sad, but like it's very, very realistic, and I feel like Gaston captured that perfectly. And also, he's just really funny in a lot of the scenes he's in, especially in the first half. Like,
and especially with LeFou.
LeFou is so funny.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't get enough credit these days. He has that whole number in the pub to cheer Gaston up. You know.
Oh, so iconic.
Who can make up these endless refrains like Gaston?
I'm especially good at expectorating. I'm not going to do that. That would be gross.
No, you don't want to do that on the
Well,
camera.
that's what you do when you get a spitfire for a girlfriend.
That's it. I'm done. But like, yeah, Beauty and the Beast, just everything about this movie screams perfection. And the thing is, this movie was the first ever animated film to be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
And it deserved it.
It absolutely did. And for that reason, and like everything else I just mentioned, that's my number one, and I don't really see anything else changing that, really, in terms of the Disney animated section of it. Pixar's a little bit different. Like, you know, we can talk about Pixar films another time, but she's got Tangled at the top. I've got Beauty and the Beast at the top. Two definitely brilliant movies.
Of course.
Well, we finished our list. Do you want to do a quick lightning round of honorable mentions before
let's
we
do it.
sign off? All right. I'll have you go first.
Okay, so one of the things on my honorable mentions is Frankenweenie.
Frankenweenie, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually, sorry to cut you off, but like I saw that movie for the first time ever actually a month ago. She showed it to me. I loved it. It's a perfect movie to watch around Halloween time.
Oh yeah. And also Sparky is adorable.
Sparky's great.
And it's not in like my top 10 because it hasn't really like influenced me. And then also when it was released in 2012, it went up against 4 other films that were even better, and that included Wreck-It Ralph, Brave, Paranorman, and Pirates Band of Misfits, which I have to say all 4 of those were much better than Frankenweenie.
Yeah.
But I still have to put Frankenweenie on the list because they still did a great job. It's very Tim Burton-esque. They really brought in the style. And also with the whole castle intro, CGI intro, Frankenweenie has the coolest one.
Oh yeah.
Out of all the ones I've seen. So if you haven't seen Frankenweenie, watch it for the intro.
Well, my first honorable mention is actually going to be The Jungle Book. So I was actually really, really close to putting this at number 10. This is just a really, really fun animated old school Disney flick. It's got, you know, a bunch of fun animals. You got King Louie, of course. I mean, who can forget? I mean, Mowgli and Bagheera are not nearly, like, as interesting as some of the other characters, but, I mean, for good reason. You know, Mowgli is raised to be kind of boring, like Bagheera, but, but you got Baloo to make up for it, and Baloo is so much fun. You have Kaa, the snake. Kaa is such an underrated villain in so many ways. Actually voiced by Jim Cummings, who also voiced Winnie the Pooh, fun fact. You know.
Variety.
The man had range, you know. That's all I can really say. But you also have the even more amazing villain of Shere Khan. Shere Khan was exactly what I wanted Scar to be in a lot of ways. Like, he has that elegance to him, but he doesn't act like a little brat a lot of the time once he does get power.
He doesn't claim to be surrounded by idiots a lot of the time.
Like,
that I remember.
The entire movie, I was convinced that Shere Khan could kill you at any instant. Scar, like, the second half of the movie, I was just like, okay, he's kind of a brat, he's kind of a prima donna, I'm not expecting him to win any fights at this time. Shere Khan, through the entire movie, I was expecting him to, yeah. But Jungle Book, I was very close. What else do you got?
So, other ones that I have on here, I'm looking back at the list that I have.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. Treasure Planet is on there.
Yes.
And Treasure Planet, I think, is super, super underrated. I know that it was an attempt to bring the classic Robert Louis Stevenson story to another generation, and I think they did an amazing job bringing the steampunk aspect to the story. I just still feel like it wasn't the strongest way to do it.
I mean,
and then also, another thing I have to say about this movie, I think it was a really smart move for them to make the captain a female captain.
Yeah.
Because female representation, go girl. My one problem that I had with it was because they really forced the romance between her and Dilbert, and I'm just like, you only just did it because it's a female character, and with the female character, there's always a romance. Everyone gets bored of that.
Yeah,
nowadays.
I get you there. Well, I have another honorable mention for you. It actually came out the same year, Lilo and Stitch.
Ooh, yes!
We kind of talked about it briefly. I mean, just Lilo and Stitch, like, I will say Lilo's story is unbelievable.
Yes.
She is, she's weird, she's rambunctious, she's quirky, and a lot of people found that kid to be really annoying. In a lot of ways, the kid is weird, and she, she's getting into trouble at every turn. But guess what, guys? Those are kids.
And you never know what your kids are going through.
Right, and Lilo was just such an incredible child character, and the stuff that she has with her older sister Nani also was just so unbelievably touching. She is going through just as much trauma as Lilo is, and I feel like Nani gets overlooked a lot. I will say though that Stitch kind of with that story, Stitch just kind of feels out of place. I don't know what it is. So
they just wanted to create a cute alien.
Yeah, the alien's cute and all, but with the story that they were telling with Lilo, it just kind of felt out of place to me. I don't know. But Lilo and Stitch is definitely very good.
Oh yeah. Plus his voice is adorable.
Oh, Punchbuggle! Alright, do you have any more?
Alright, I think I have one more.
Alright.
Beauty and the Beast, which we talked about, but
there it is.
I want to go with another one. Atlantis, the Lost Empire.
Yep.
That was such a good movie.
Yeah.
I haven't really watched it in a long time. My brother and I, we used to play the video game a lot because my brother, he absolutely loves anything maritime related. He's in Sea Scouts, and he's always loved pirates, adventure, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this was a movie that really spoke to us as kids, and it just seemed so exciting to go to a place like that and to be with Milo, and oh god,
so cool.
It was really well animated, really good voice casting.
Absolutely. And I'm hearing rumors that Tom Holland is going to be playing Milo in the live action version, so
please,
I'm down for that. But I have one more honorable mention to go along with it. I mentioned all the Wreck-It Ralph movies and Sleeping Beauty already briefly. I want to talk about Cinderella a little bit also, because
absolutely,
that's a very underratedly strong female main character as well. She goes through a lot to get to where she needs to be. And Lady Tremaine, I think, is also a very underrated villain also. There is a lot of really effective, I don't know what the word is, villainy to come out of, that was the obvious word I just used for it.
Yeah, well,
I'm embarrassed. But villainy, yeah, there's a lot of that definitely with this character, and it's pretty much the least amount of energy a villain has put in, but she still conveys so much power over this poor girl. The stare that she has at one point is just so, she reminds me a lot of, a James Bond villain in a lot of ways, and it's not just because she's stroking a cat at one point.
Yeah, exactly.
It's her design and everything about her aura, her presence, just screams James Bond. The reason why this film is not on the list is because the prince was not interesting. I don't even think he gets a line in this movie, really. If he does, it's only a
at
few
least
words.
made him interesting in the live action remake.
Richard Madden.
And I do have to say, the live action remake was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'd go as far as to say the remake was better than this one.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, but...
Plus Lily James. She's gorgeous.
Absolutely, yeah. Those are our honorable mentions. Wow, this list was a tough one to make.
No!
This was a ton of fun, Lauren. Thank you so much.
very surprising.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course, anytime. I want to be back already.
Oh, believe me, you're going to see more of this one for sure. But yeah, thank you all so much as always for clicking on the video. This has been so much fun. I'm curious to know what your guys' top 10 animated Disney films are. I want to know down in the comments section down below, so feel free to voice your opinions. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button as hard as you possibly can. Leave a thumbs up on the video. Look forward to more very soon, and with all that being said...
Back talk coming!